Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back, everybody. Hello, hello, hello.
So if you're up in the Boston area, you got a lot of snow.
Brr. So I'm looking at that. My whole body's getting all these chills. Ugh.
I know, I'm thankful that it's going to be a 70-degree day-ish here. And, 23.6 inches of snow. That's a lot of shoveling. Wow, I could feel that in my back already.
You know, the only thing that might be remotely fun about that is to drive the plow trucks. Might be fun.
Yeah, I never thought about driving plow trucks, but so the total snowfall was 23.8 inches, but 0.2 of an inch fell when the storm began on Friday. So it tied the record for the biggest one-day snowfall ever. That's pretty wild. And you see down here, there's actually video shows Nantucket. Now, Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard are two islands off the coast of Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and you can see this is a large part of it's underwater. Now the thing that really gets me is knowing just how freaking cold that water is.
Now, there is nothing enjoyable about that. That is freezing. Brr.
Absolutely. Somehow, it just seems to be 10 times worse than when we look at a place where it's warm and it's got that type of flooding going on. Burr, baby, burr. Nantucket is underwater. I had a heck of a boat ride when I was a kid going over to the islands. It got very, very stormy, and I'll never forget that. And yeah, it's a good thing they got their canoe there. They're ready. We had talked about this back in like 2017, 2018. We were joking about you're going to have a boat in these times because you never know when you're going to need to get down Main Street and you won't be able to drive or walk.
Yes, and we do have our canoes now.
Yes, we do have a couple of kayaks, so we're set to go. And here is, he doesn't look too comfortable or too happy as he's blowing snow here. This is in North Attleboro, Mass, with that massive snow. It is... Well, it's a major reason why a lot of people end up saying, hello, Florida.
Yeah, I bet you he wishes he had a plow truck.
Yeah, come and do it. But, we still have scientists saying they are baffled by these acoustic gravity waves that were caused by the Tonga volcanic eruption, or whatever it was that really, really happened here. Everything got revised, of course, as we had talked about. And, it is going to have an effect as you see a dog chilling on a vehicle that's covered in soot there. It is going to have an effect on weather in the southern hemisphere. And, this was underwater. Again, we've gotten from the guides that this is artificially flavored, so to speak. 7 days after the eruption, the shock wave continues to circle the planet 10 times. Does that not hit you out there as being kind of wow?
That's incredible. And, ever since this has happened, a lot of people that we're working with have been affected in a way where their emotions, they were like jolted off center. So it's really strange what's happening here to watching and to watch people's energies be so affected by it.
We have, we've noticed, well, for one, everybody is, for the most part, unless you're, going down a certain path and allowing the frequencies to saturate into you and kind of dull you to what's going on as far as the natural progression of these times, with the energy coming in from the sun, all the galactic radiation coming in, changing us, as we've talked about, the fact that we are in what's called a photon belt. And, I remember 30 years ago, people would be saying, oh, that sounds so woo-woo, so crazy. But now there's less and less people are saying it's woo-woo and crazy, because it is a reality that we go through these different areas of different energies that we're exposed to. And, right now we're going into an area that's going to lead to the end of the Dark Age, the end of the Kali Yuga. And the last two videos that we did over on EEARTS, we were trying to explain a lot more about that time frame. As, we do have some time to go, but at the same time, you could see clearly, can't you not see that more and more people are waking up to the fact, that the emperor has no clothes, that things are not as they've always been portrayed to be, and certain things are getting more obvious all the time. Now, the technology involved in this is most definitely something that could be mind-blowing. And yeah, I had a dream where they were showing me that pressure was building in other areas. And, I wouldn't doubt it at all. I would not doubt it at all to see a blast somewhere else that's Tonga-ish as we go deeper into this time period.
Right. This is just a time where we have to stay prepared and keep centering yourself. If you're one of those who your energy has been thrown off, keep recentering yourself. And you want to do that just by a little meditation will help you do that.
Yeah. And, there is a swarm that's been ongoing down the Kermadec Islands now that, while I'm thinking of it, we've been watching certain areas. There's one over there in Tennessee at 2.2. Small, but always interesting to see when we get some out of the certain zones. Okay, so at the moment, this is a 4.9 over in Tonga and a 4.6 over there. But we did have a lot more activity going down over in the Kermadec Island region. And if we blast out, you can see now this is 7 days 2.5 plus. You see some swarming in these areas. This is, again, if you could kind of envision it, see all this lighter color. When we have more of an ice age going on, more ice pack, there's been times when all this has been exposed and it's all connected. Zealandia. It's actually a submerged continent. It's interesting to just think of the changes that we've had on this planet.
Right. Things that they're just not going to come out and tell us because they need to keep a certain narrative.
Mm-hmm. And we had a 1.1 M-class solar flare erupt from area 2936. The KP index was at 4 for quite a prolonged period of time. Not really high, but again, in these times, I think people are getting sensitive enough to notice it.
Well, I was to the point where I was actually nauseous last night, and I felt so horrible, and I bet you a lot of you guys were too, because these energies, they're just sort of bombarding us, and it's a good thing because we are evolving, we are moving up into a higher density, but gosh, it can hurt sometimes.
Yeah, the guides have shared that people will be developing, people that avoid certain things, that big thing caused by the plague upon the land, for instance. Avoiding certain things, your frequency will continue to rise and you'll start to develop interesting abilities in like the 3 to 6 year range with many people. What type of abilities? Well, basically what we would call paranormal, but things like telepathy and clairvoyance and other things along those lines where our pineal glands are being activated. Increased activity at Taal volcano in the Philippines as well. Alert level is at 2. We see a lot more volcanic activity going on. Storm Malik slams UK with over 100-mile-an-hour winds. A couple people did lose their lives, unfortunately, due to a tree falling on them. Cut power to 130,000 homes and businesses. And again, over 100-mile-an-hour winds in Scotland. Canary Islands, we were looking at La Palma for quite a while, focusing on that. And we have a lot of flooding going on, just like we see with Nantucket. Somehow it's easier for me to look at this because I know the water's probably 70-something degrees, as opposed to up there off the coast of Massachusetts where it's damn cold. But either way you look at it, not a good thing to have the vehicles underneath water, and it's not a good thing to have your grocery store look like that.
No, this is a problem, and we've heard of this here and there in spots. So this is another thing that we kind of need to prepare for.
Absolutely. Australian outback supermarkets run out of food, desperate residents forced to drive hundreds of kilometers to find groceries. This one woman said she drove 330 kilometers from her home in Alice Springs to stock up on supplies at Kohl's, only to find empty shelves and food running out fast. One thing I've noticed is that all that sits on the shelf all the time is just all the lower end stuff that's processed and full of GMOs and pesticides, and all those things are just going to lower your immune system in the first place. We had talked about spiky things concerned with the plague upon the land, for those of you that can understand. And there'll always be one person that blasts out a comment in a negative fashion about, talking in code. Well, hey, it's not their channel. It's not their life. So, they could throw out a negative comment when we put thousands and thousands of hours and years into this. So obviously we have a little bit more skin in the game. So
yeah, a little more invested here.
Yeah. But when you think about the conditions which bring about, this is a topic that we should probably discuss on Evolutionary more, and we will. But again, the thing is boosting the immune system instead of running off to get anti this, anti that. Again, antibiotics literally mean anti-life, right? Against life. Instead of always treating things by blasting in a scorched earth manner, it would do the body good to actually build up the good. And there are ways of getting rid of parasites and things like that. Now, we were just talking about turmeric, which we buy in 5-pound bags, organic turmeric. There's things like you wouldn't even think of the benefits necessarily of things like maybe cinnamon and ginger, but these have ability to help the body heal in a very natural way. Turmeric, cinnamon, ginger, cloves, and so many other things that we could be doing naturally that will not harm our body at all or throw us out of balance at all, as opposed to these things that we have to go see a DR for, get a script for, and then it just scorch earths everything in its path, leading to more imbalance.
And it's been my experience when you're dealing with these kind of things like with turmeric and ginger and cinnamon, what you can do is you can take it until you have the result that you desire. It's not going to make you sick or kill you like other things.
Yeah, as far as, again, fighting parasites, fighting bacteria, antiviral, antibacterial, things like that. We spoke about cloves. Wormwood is another thing. Black walnut hull is another thing. You'd be surprised at some of the medicinal effects, things that you could get, just order them online or go to a health store, and they're not going to hurt you. You're not going to overdose on things like turmeric and ginger, and cinnamon. And here we see another sign of the times is, that bus is not turning into a transformer. It's actually falling in a sinkhole. And this is over in China. There's a lot of sinkholes in China.
Yeah, I know. I mean, gosh, that's scary stuff.
And we see a giant tree stump. What is this? An impact crater spotted on Mars. And it does look so much like a tree stump with these rings about it, but they say that's just basically the way the ice has formed in this crater. Interesting to see this, just the patterns, and just in general, that gets me thinking about the fractal nature of the universe in general. But there again, there's ice on Mars. And astronomers discover 1,000 strange filaments of radio energy bursting from the galactic center. There's 10 times more of these structures than they realized. Their source remains a mystery. And these structures, known as radio filaments, jut out of the galactic center in long, thin tendrils, some of which stretch up to 150 light years long, or nearly 40 times the distance between Earth and our nearest next-door system, Proxima Centauri, which is interesting, in itself, because that's a trinary system. There's three stars there, and actually the chances of life there is exceedingly good. And we were asking the guides about that too, and they were concurring.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is really curious because they were telling me this is the creation of wormholes, portals, ways to get from point A to point B that, they're going to label it something else. They're not going to call it what it is.
Absolutely. Like red sprites. Those are just red sprites. Yeah. But in fact, it could actually be a being of sort, a light being. As consciousness is what is all around us. This whole, multiverse that we find ourselves in, it's all about the exploration of consciousness. And life abounds out there. As we've shared with you guys as well, if you've been following along, we encountered some interesting looking beings on a planet that's actually closer to us than Venus or Mars, but it's up in fourth density. It's just slightly out of our visible spectrum. However, that may change as times go on. And as times go on, we're going to discover that our solar system has way more planets than we thought. They've just been lying just outside our visible spectrum. And that is the case with Nibiru as well, which should be visible to the eyes within about 20 years. Right. It'll be there, and everybody will be, seeing it at that point in time, those that are on the planet at that point in time. Some will be able to see it, even now or even in times past, because, again, we're all basically progressing at different rates in our abilities, and we're talking about those abilities that are growing. And this is exactly what we're talking about, the ability to perceive things in other densities. And so we see now 71% of Americans believe we are not alone in the universe. And I've watched that number just go up and up and up as the slow trickle disclosure is well underway. And, many will cite Project Blue Book saying, well, it's all just a hoax. They're going to, stage a fake alien invasion. But, again, they've been here the whole time. They've always been here. There's inner Earth beings that are here and have always been here with us that have technologies that'll blow us away. The legends of Agartha and Shambhala, Shangri-La. We know of the beings called the Nagas, that are very intelligent. And, we should tread carefully around, most definitely, some of these beings that are residing in the oceans and inside the Earth, as well as on other planets all around us.
Right. And what we're going through now is we're just having these realizations which change our perspective. And at some point, we're going to realize there is no veil. There never was a veil. Everything has always been here for all eternity.
It's just a matter of perspective. Yeah. And, the ability to see into other densities. And again, if the, pineal gland's not functioning, the kundalini's not turned on, then all we can use really is that, that which we get with our senses, that which we read. There was somebody that was quoting some scriptures and saying that you don't understand exactly, Yahweh, etc., read more. There's no need when you can go within and get the answers, when you can see, because again, things have been rewritten so many times and, intentionally leading down roads that lead to nowhere, just these rabbit holes that you waste time, and trying to understand these things that are so twisted and garbled. You were never meant to understand them in the first place. They're just meant to occupy your time. They're meant to give you a certain point of view that is not accurate, but that lies within the framework of the matrix that we find ourselves in, the viewpoint that the secret societies cultivate. And, again, all you got to do is go look at how eagerly each one of those ones that are being sworn in to be the new head of the country put their hand on that and swear by it.
Right. So these are things that we have to come to the understanding that our controllers are just that. They control everything that we see when it comes to our education in a book form and other forms of education that come through the internet. We have to be hyper aware where that usually comes from. And that's why we like to speak with people about learning to go within, getting that spiritual practice down, making it a daily thing, because this is what Mike and I do every day. It's like a spiritual hygiene. This helps center you every day. This helps you pull from the ether around you information that might not otherwise be available if you're really super busy and you have to work. And usually this is how they just keep people in this perpetual state of gotta pay the bills, gotta get food on the table, and it makes it difficult for you to hear outside of this realm.
That's the whole purpose of this whole, wheel that we're on. Just like a mouse or a rat on a wheel going nowhere, going absolutely nowhere spiritually, just trying to keep up with taxes and bills and utilities, etc. Meanwhile, life is passing us by. And if we could isolate ourselves away from this matrix, feel the earth under your feet. I remember the first time when I felt the heartbeat of the earth, it blew me away. And I was doing Qigong. I was out in the woods, and it was a relatively cool day still. The ground was probably like 40 degrees. But when you learn how to draw the life force in, you could keep yourself warm. As Cindy many times has seen me out there meditating in, the 30s with no shirt on and being perfectly fine, just soaking in the energy of the sun and basking in that warmth, almost sweating. When you can embrace it like that, it just takes time, takes practice. But there's nothing really more important than our spiritual growth. And again, if we put ourselves into a box that somebody else has written the script for, where's the growth in that? If all we ever look at is the same sort of paradigm without letting our spirit soar and fly and explore, because there's a reason why we are all unique. This is the purpose of Source, the God with the big G, is to explore its creation through every single possible lens available. And each one of us is a unique lens with a unique point of view.
Absolutely. So, the next time you're reading a scientific paper, and I know science has its place, it really does, and I'm sure there's a lot about it that help people, but just keep in mind that's controlled information. I'm not saying that it's all wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's controlled.
Absolutely. And it's, again, to put you into a box. So break free of your box. Dare to be unique. Do you dare? I know we have a lot of people out there that are daring to be unique. That's for sure.
They absolutely are.
So again, guys, thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We couldn't do it without you. Also on Medicinal Foods. If you want to find out more about us, check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com, and you could reach us at evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com.
And a huge thank you to Joe and Michelle. Thank you so much. We appreciate all of your guys' support at every level. Thank you.
Yes. Much love. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.